Thank you for staying tuned to Fireworks. If you've been following our discourse in the last half hour, we've been looking at the need for Nigerians to break away from the past and elect a new crop of leadership, you know, especially as the 2019 general election draws near. And of course, we also looked at the pact process, and my guest today in relation to that is Professor Kingsley Moghalu, former Deputy Governor, Central Bank of Nigeria, and diplomat, and of course a political economist and a lawyer. So many sides to my guest today. Right now we're progressing to looking at the relationship between politics and the economy. Professor, yes. Thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
Now, politics and the economy, I'm sure you'll agree with me, are inextricably linked.
Yes.
Now, that surprisingly, over the years in Nigeria has not resulted into the transformation, required to empower the average Nigerian. Yeah. Sadly, the reverse is the case. Yes, Nigeria absolutely. Is leading in the World Poverty Index.
Yes.
My question would now be, do we have a current crop of the political class that can deliver sustainable development? And if we haven't had, what has been the problem?
The recycled old political class that is currently in power or in the big opposition does not have what it takes to reverse the reality of the poverty that Nigerians are experiencing. You see, for you to be able to confront poverty properly, you must have the right kind of people in the political decision-making process, especially in the presidency. That person, in the person of the president, must be somebody who has the passion for the people. If you love the people of Nigeria and you have a vision for them, and then you have the intellect and the relevant experience and the relevant global exposures to back up that compassion you have for the people, you can make a difference. I have this profile. That's why I'm running for president. And that's why I would be a very different president. Having been deputy governor of the central bank for 5 years, I have managed a national economy. I've been part of leadership of a national economy. Having been a United Nations official for 17 years, from entry level to the highest career rank, I have the ultimate global exposures in international affairs and in development. So I know, I understand intellectually, I understand conceptually, I understand practically what needs to be done.
But can technocrats work without the politicians?
That's why
in delivering on the economy.
But that's why I'm transitioning from being a technocrat to being a political leader, because as a technocrat, once you are sitting under a politician who has no vision, you'll be frustrated. That was one of the lessons I learned from my time as a technocrat in Nigeria. The central bank was different. We achieved a lot in the central bank between 2009 and 2014 because the central bank at the time was independent. So we did all the reforms we wanted in the financial sector. The POS you enjoy today, the BVN, the stability of most of the banking sector, all these things were work that we did. The politicians tried to stop us, but they could not because we stood strong. Once you leave an institution such as the central bank, or once the central bank falls into the wrong hands and begins to take instructions from politicians, you begin to see the economy.
Is that what is happening now?
I believe so. No question in my mind. Now, the point I'm trying to say is this. So, if you are a technocrat in a situation where you don't have real independence, the politicians will never allow you to function properly. Because I recognize this limitation that technocrats have, it struck me that the only way I could now contribute to changing my country was to go to the level of political power, which has its own legitimacy. Because you're elected by the people, you can do far more. Whether you use that legitimacy well or not is a different matter.
We'll talk about that, yes. But you agree that it's because the technocrats have to take instructions from the executive. That's why we're where we are today.
In terms of the economy?
So tell us what is wrong with the monetary policy being run currently, with the fiscal policy?
Yes. The fiscal policy is not the responsibility of the central bank. The fiscal policy is the responsibility of the government. Where the problem began was that the central bank was not acting independently after the price of oil collapsed and under its current leadership. You are now trying to move outside of the laws of economics to use the law of politics to manage a marketplace. It doesn't work. So part of the way to solve the problem, which will happen when I become president, is that as president, I will give the central bank back its authority to manage the policy the way it should. I'm not going to interfere in them. I, as president, will remove the EFCC from under the authority and control of the presidency, so that we will not be using the EFCC to be witch hunting political oppositions. We will set institutions free.
How does that affect the economy or the
circulation
of naira?
I'm just trying to make a larger point about the independence of institutions and how it affects the performance of government. The central bank performed very well in my time because we were free and independent. It has not been so in recent years, and most people can see that. It's not, I've said this before and I'm on the record, so I don't have any apologies to offer because I know what I'm saying. Now, if they had allowed the foreign exchange to float or find its market price, what would have happened is that foreigners or foreign investors or people with access to foreign exchange wanting to make a profit will flood Nigeria with foreign exchange. In that process, the price of the dollar will begin to fall eventually. We saw this, for example, with the GSM. You know, when you try to rig a market, it never works in a free market economy. And that's one of the things that caused the recession. Let me say it's the result of the economic incompetence of our political leaders. They don't understand the difference between economic growth, economic development, and economic transformation. There are three different things. Economic growth, when the products and goods and services in a country are increasing, then you have GDP growth, gross domestic product. But that is not economic development. Economic development is the improvement of the quality of the lives of the poor. Do they have good health care? Do they have good drinking water? Do they have good education? You know, do you understand what I'm saying? What is their life expectancy? These are the kinds of things that constitute economic development. Then you have economic transformation, which is the structure of the economy. Does it depend on a natural resource like oil? Or is it a productive economy with manufacturing and exporting?
Well, what about the attempts at productivity? For instance, yes. The production and exportation of yam, the increase in the production of rice, which according to the administration has led to a decrease in rice importation in the last year or so.
Yeah, please let me explain something to you. There's a difference between propaganda and real economic transformation. When I'm talking about export, I'm talking about the export of finished complex products. Go and look at the USA, look at Switzerland, look at Japan, look at South Korea. Are they busy exporting yam tubers? They're exporting Hyundai, they're exporting, you know, fine, complex, big cars and electronics. Is that not so? Are they just exporting rice to you? Are they just exporting yam tubers? No. Why do we compare? When we make a little, it looks as if it's progress, but in the end, it's not progress. So I'm not quarreling with the reduction in the importation of rice, but is it verified or is it just propaganda? That is a different matter. And of course, to talk about the export of yam tubers, you're going to just make me laugh in Igbo and English and French and Yoruba. I mean, that is a joke.
That'll be a good combination.
Yeah, you know, so I'm talking, my vision is of Nigeria as a place where you have artificial intelligence laboratories. We want a Nigeria where people invent innovative products and we turn them into commercial products that flood our markets. And that is my plan. That's why, as president of Nigeria, the economy of Nigeria will be driven by innovation, not by oil. We are going to make innovation will become king. Innovation and technology will become king in this country. We will set up a 1 trillion naira venture capital fund. If you're a bright young man or woman and you invent something that is useful to society, the fund will invest. We mass manufacture your product, it goes into the market. We'll protect your intellectual property. You become rich. The middleman becomes rich. The wholesaler becomes rich. The retailer of that product becomes rich. Everybody's getting rich. That is how societies prosper.
Very strong and passionate motivation for seeking political power, Professor. But then again, let's go back to politics.
Oh, sure. Which decides
the young
precisely.
The Young Progressives Party is a relatively new kid on the block. We're talking structure now.
Oh, sure.
it was formed after the chairman left YDP to become YPP, correct? So can you wield, if there's an absence of structure, which is fundamental to acquiring political power?
Let me explain.
Let's be realistic, Professor.
Yes. Yeah.
So which is realistic to acquiring political power? Yes. If there's an absence of structure nationwide, can you wield executive power without political power? Peradventure, by some stroke of miracle, Professor Kingsley Moghalu becomes president in 2019.
Yeah, you're right. Let me explain. First of all, the YPP has a nationwide structure across 36 states of the
Is that wishful thinking,
It's
Professor?
not wishful thinking, it's reality.
You will see, a new party.
You will see when the elections come.
I ask again, are you speaking out of sheer optimism?
I'm not speaking
because
out of sheer
even ahead
optimism.
of your own
I'm
emergence
speaking,
as candidate, there were concerns about young presidential aspirants being able to participate in this election because of the prohibitive cost of presidential nomination forms. So how much more the younger politicians from your own party who seek to pick up the Senate forms, the House of Representative forms, which are
in our party, they're not expensive. They're not inordinately expensive. So I cannot speak for other parties. The APC and the PDP have made forms the price of owning homes. And that is because they know where they get their money. We don't know where they get their money. So for them, politics is what I call the political industrial complex. In the PDP and the APC, politics is a business. And who is being bought and sold? It is the masses and the citizens of Nigeria. Now, when I win, we may not necessarily take over the National Assembly, but we will have people who will be elected to the National Assembly in 2019. But real leadership as a president under our current constitution can work with any party in the parliament.
Really?
Oh yes, let me tell you why it looks as Nigeria is at a gridlock. It is because of the failure of leadership today. There's nothing that stops you. As president of Nigeria, you have a lot of authority.
The current APC has a near predominance
and yet they cannot
Senate
function.
And the House of Representatives.
But
see what happened to the 2018 budget.
It is because...
So if you had if the YPP has a sprinkle of members in both chambers, how do you intend to get a document as crucial as the budget across with your lofty ideas?
Yes, what has happened, they're not lofty, they're very practical. A lot of people in Nigeria should stop this thinking that anything that is good is lofty and impractical. It is not true. Are we the children of lesser gods? Don't we deserve good governance? Don't we deserve a president that understands simple economics and can manage Nigeria's economy? Don't we deserve a president that can represent us well internationally? Don't we deserve a president who can unify Nigeria and build a nation? Why are we always feeling that the good is impossible for us as Nigeria? What I have is a vision for Nigeria. And therefore I'm following my vision. What happens to a child in Abeokuta concerns me. What is happening to the youth in Sokoto is of concern to me. What is happening in Anambra State is of concern to me. Because my vision is big, broad, national, I am pregnant with that vision. And I must give birth to it. You know, I have experience in the three things that a president does every day. Those three things are nation building. How do you build a nation? I have built nations from Cambodia to Croatia, from Angola to Rwanda as a United Nations official. So I know how to build and fix a broken nation. Most Nigerians today want Nigeria restructured. I, as president, will lead the reality or the realization of their wish. That's the issue, and I have the absolute political will to do it. There is no country, there's no region in Nigeria that will not benefit from constitutional restructuring. So that is my vision of restructuring, and it includes resource control, to be very clear. All the regions should have control of the resources under their soil. The North, for example, has a lot of solid minerals. Then the regions that own it, but they must pay a tax to the federal government so that there can be common services like foreign affairs, immigration, central bank, a few things, you know. So, but most other things should come down to the regional level. All this question of a commanding federal government, a commanding president at Olympian Heights in Abuja, trying to stuff everything down everybody's throat. It is what is making Nigeria poor today. So I am running for president to make myself less powerful than all previous presidents have been.
Thank you very much for your time, Professor Moghalu.
Thank you. Thank you.
And that's our offering today on fireworks. We've had Professor Kingsley Moghalu, the man who is in the race for president in order to reduce the powers of the president. We hope that he surmounts all the obstacles in between and at the end. Join us again same time next week when we'll bring you another incisive edition of your preferred hard talk investigative program, Fireworks, on TVC. I am Bukola Samuel Wedimo. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you again, sir.
Thank you, Bukola. Yeah, thank you.
Hello and welcome. This is Fireworks on TVC. I am Bukola Samuel Wedimo. Political alignments and realignments are in top gear ahead of the 2019 general election. But the disaffection characterizing these alignments is gaining momentum just as well. Today we'll be reviewing this realignment, this disaffection, as well as do a catch-up with the Labour Party, which at the beginning of this year had an intense leadership tussle that rocked it. Let's take a moment, we'll be right back. Thank you for staying tuned to Fireworks, your preferred hard talk interview program on TVC. My guest today is the National Chairman of the Labour Party, Alhaji Abdulkadir Abdulsalam. Thank you for your time.
It's a pleasure meeting you again.
Yet again. Since we last came, would like to know, as a starting point on today's edition, what the current state of affairs is with the Labour Party.
The Labour Party has been normal, has been functioning, has been operative, has been catching up with the time and the expectation from INEC and from our people. We have been educating our own members on electoral expectations. We have been informing them of day-to-day developments. So if you look down the line, there were some group of people meeting. We've had the youth seminar. We're going to have the women's seminar very soon. So we're doing very fantastically well. And people have been coming here, trooping here, to pick our phone, to ask one or two questions, to call us on phone from Nigeria, and people from the diaspora who have come, who know that the Labour Party is the next alternative. So we're on.
Interesting. But well, before we look at the buts now, so you managed to hold back the opposition against your leadership, and you're now very comfortable in your seat as chairman, national chairman.
And there's no opposition against my party. With due respect, there were some miscreants who came to take over the party office, like they did last year.
Last year, October.
Yeah, when one said, no, earlier than that. When a senator who won on that platform wanted to defect into the APC, create an artificial faction. They brought bosses from Delta all over the places. They were shouting, they were chanting. After that, the following day, he camped to another political party. So it's a common thing in Nigerian politics where people are being used to create artificial situation, artificial faction in a political party like ours. But I'm very comfortable. I've been here, you met me here at the time. I've been here, we're operating here. Nobody has come to intimidate or harass me in my office. It's not doable, it's not possible.
Well, I recall early this year, when we came to interview you, we saw quite a number of chairmen of Labour Party who were complaining about your high-handedness, leadership tussle, and when the space was heavily guarded. Well, so do you have all of them back in your fold now?
Certainly we don't have such people who are here. Probably you went to another office, then you are assuming that this is the office you came to. Here, our authentic party chairmen are here, our always with us. The people you met here are national officers of the party. I have about 10 of them here now. And we are together, we have been together. Well, if people know that this party is shaky, they will not come. They've been coming. As of today, we have more than 4 presidential aspirants. In some states, we have more than 6 presidential aspirants.
But I recall you told me that you have all the state chairmen in your fold.
Absolutely. But not the state chairman are not in contention.
But you couldn't quote a figure.
All of them. What figure do I quote? When I have 36 states, Abuja, They're all here with us.
Barrister Buri, who was in the other faction, is now in your fold.
He knows that he has to be here because I believe this is the place to. Because he's a lawyer and he's a law-abiding individual.
Interesting.
Yeah?
This is the same Barrister Buri who brandished a document which he said is evidence to prove that you were investigated and this police report indicted you on corruption allegations.
There was no police report, no report anywhere. Where
He showed me the report.
Where will Labour Party get 1.3 billion?
And you challenged that the report...
Yes, where will Labour Party get 1.3 billion? And only one person will embezzle. It's a figmentation of imagination of some very few individuals. Abure as an exception. He's not part of that, he's not with it.
But would you like to tell me how you were able to convince him to return?
Or
what was... Why did he return?
It's not a question of convincing.
Why did he leave the Omotosho faction?
Labour, I don't know about Omotosho. What I know about Omotosho is he collected a form in 2015 that he was going to contest. He couldn't pay. And we allowed him to contest because he used this organization, this lioness, what do you call them? And we thought they were people of credibility.
He showed receipts proving that
and those receipts were faked. To the best of my knowledge, this party is absolutely in peace.
If things are at peace as you claim they are, one comrade, Joseph Ndiram, who is the chairman of the party in the FCT, also expressed displeasure over the continuous parade of yourself as national chairman of the Labour Party.
I made him a caretaker committee for 3 months. And since 2016, I've removed him. Mimiko did not come back.
Well, before you begin to talk about the return of Dr. Mimiko, let's finish with the Labour Party. First of all, tell us about the NLC and the Labour Party. What exactly is the relationship? Is it true that the NLC brokered a reconciliation between the feuding factions of the Labour Party?
I'm not aware of any feuding faction. That's why I said go to I have document which I will give before you go. The position of INEC on Labour Party and NLC. Our position with Labour Party and NLC. So we'll go into a better, a more advanced issue that will tell Nigerians.
Is it true that some of the terms of the agreement was that you would continue as national chairman until October when your tenure expires, and Dr. Mostosho will be chairman, board of trustees?
Labour Party has its constitution.
After which there will be another convention.
Labour Party has its constitution. Well, every political party has its constitution. NS has its constitution. No area give me impression that another organization has overbearing on Labour Party.
As we make progress, tell us about the return of former governor of Ondo State, Olusegun Mimiko.
Mimiko see that the only option that is left in this country politically, the only party that has ideology, the only party that fits into his expectations, hopes and aspirations is the Labour Party. And that's why we met with him, he decided to come back to Labour Party. I will accept it.
The same party that he left?
Oh, he's free. We look at constitution, we are free as freedom of association. Even ILO convention, I can show you now. You have freedom of association. If you feel, every man, every human being, if you want to marry one, if you marry the first wife, you feel you want to do the second try, you marry the second wife, you see the difference between them. So when you see that the first one is better than this one, you go back. Or the second one is better, you go back. So Mimiko is an intelligent man, a seasoned politician, a man of honor, a man of integrity, a man who has transformed Ondo State beyond what you can imagine. So if he decided, a man who gave pregnant women what they deserve, if I go on and tell you his achievement in Ondo State, it will be tremendous. It's tremendous. So for Mimiko to come back, he knows what it takes. He's a medical doctor. He's a seasoned politician of our time.
But did you try to process the reasons for his exit from the PDP, his former party?
No, I'm not business. Mimiko is an astute. He knows when to do what and when not to do what.
Is the Labour Party a platform to launder failed interests?
No.
He left the Labour Party, went to the PDP, and is back in the Labour Party.
Have you ever been to Ondo State?
I've been to Ondo State.
Have you ever seen the transformation carried out by Mimiko there?
Well, that is left for observers to process.
Including who have
We
been
are
there.
more concerned about the outcome
Including
of
who have
the
been there.
actions of
So if he
politicians.
decided to come, we accepted him because our party, or every patriotic Nigerian, can come to our party as a member. Every citizen who is responsible, who is honest, sincere, is allowed to come to our party. So if Mimiko decided to come, he has been commanded.
So you don't feel that this is another, attempt at using the Labour Party to achieve interests that couldn't be actualized in other party?
Probably this is your own assumption. But to us, we never read the mind of any individual. If you say tell us you are good, we are good. If you tell us you are not good, it is when we see you bad, we rate you bad.
Okay, tell us about the Labour Party and its involvement with this CUPP.
Yes, the Labour Party and our involvement in CUPP is not anything that is controversial. It's not. Last year, I was the chairman of 20 political parties. We meet here every day. Even now in UK, you saw some party chairman go now. We call it Coalition of New Nigeria. And now I am the chairman. You must have coalition, not merger, but coalition of political parties. We make every political party independent of itself, but the essence of this coalition is to assist your party, Davis.
My party.
Oh, yeah.
All right, you're watching Fireworks. My guest today is the National Chairman of the Labour Party, Alhaji Abdulkadir Abdul Salam. We'll be looking at the Labour Party as it takes steps of recovery from that leadership tussle that rocked it at the beginning of the year. Now we're making progress to looking at the coalition of about 39 political parties, with the PDP being the rallying point. We'll have more questions in order to understand the role of the Labour Party in that coalition. But that'll be after the break. Stay with us, we'll be right back.